Well, let's move on to our trending topic, which is the psychology of astrology. And I'm going to say this before we get into it.
Go ahead.
Frank and I know little to none about this and are going to be fairly skeptical about this, if not very skeptical. And Emma, Kate, and Mariel are a little bit all about it. And are going to...
A little bit.
Yes.
A little.
So, you know how last week we said we need to be open to new thoughts and ideas, and we need to listen. So we're going to start there.
That's awesome.
We're going to listen.
Yeah.
So tell us about this thing and why this for you is fascinating, why it makes sense to you, all that.
So I'm almost wondering, would it be helpful for you guys to hear maybe like one or two fun facts about you guys from astrology's perspective?
Yes. And
Okay.
just so we know, we had to give you before the show our birth date,
Yeah.
time of birth,
Birth location.
birth
Yes.
location. So we had to provide all that to you.
Yep.
Yes, we've been studying your natal charts over the last...
I wouldn't use that word, but keep going.
That's what it's called.
That's just what it's called.
I'm not a fan of that word.
So just to clarify, though, so what we're referring to, and for those of us who are watching on YouTube, this is what a natal chart looks like. And astrology is based on the zodiac signs, and there are 12 houses that roughly, I mean, no, they don't correspond directly with the calendar, like the months that we have. But what's interesting is that it's essentially we're tracking the planets as they travel around the world. And the premise is that there's a bunch of energies related to it. But wait, right? So there's a lot of skepticism here.
Yes.
And I am actually really excited to talk about it from a true psych angle.
Okay.
So with that said, I
Yes.
think Mariel should talk now.
Yeah, me being the marketing person here, I'm not in psych. But so I'm going to handle more of the discussing of you guys, who you are deep down at your core, whether or not you realize it or not. No, but just some fun things that we found while exploring your charts. And then Emma Kate can be more of the reference point for any psychology-related questions that you may have regarding astrology. So kind of my perspective with astrology is that it's just another way to seek understanding about yourself and others. And so I was able to seek some understanding about you guys. So some fun things, which I guess we can get into it later on, I guess the difference between sun sign, moon sign, and rising sign.
So maybe just like really quick. So your sun sign is your sense of self, right?
Yeah.
That's who you are. It's your personality.
Sure, that
okay.
makes sense.
Your moon sign is your emotions.
Yes.
And then what was the other one that you said? Sun.
Rising.
Oh, and your rising sign is essentially it's who you are, what you portray. It's the mask you wear, right? So there's a Carl Jung reference to the shadow and the mask.
There you go.
And there's actually a lot of things. Well, see, you know what? Now I'm like looking at their faces that as I'm like watching this, I feel like I maybe need to share like why this is important from that psych angle first.
Go for it. Yeah.
Do you guys, are you open?
Are
you listening?
We're
Wide
open.
open.
Okay.
Wide open.
So what people don't realize is that astrology is developmental. And so when you have something that, quote unquote, a planet travels through a house, you're learning something there. So one of the things that happens is in the wheel that you're looking at, the first 3 quadrants are you learning about your sense of self. And then once a planet moves into the 4th, 5th, and 6th houses, then it's more about how do you use those gifts. Once you move into the 7th, 8th, 9th, it's about how do you take what you know about yourself and bring it into the outer world. And then how do you give things back to the community, towards your career. Spirituality is 11th, I can't count, 10th, 11th, and 12th.
Yep,
and
you
so
got it.
what I think gets a bad rep with astrology is that astrology is not a science. This is a no-duh fact, all right? So I think now that we've like cleared that air, it's fine. Because because astrology is simply a tool. And I think this is where I really want you guys to like perk up, because it's not meant to be quote unquote concrete. You're supposed to hear what you want to hear from it. And we'll talk about that from a different lens in a moment. But essentially it's about recognizing that it doesn't matter what tools you are using if it's going to be used to help make a positive change in your life.
Right.
So,
Hey,
well
Dave,
said.
do you feel like Emma Kate just had a dictionary and shook a bunch of words
I
out?
did, and this is
and
what I was
just
nervous
put them
about.
together.
I was following.
So,
I'm listening. I'm with you.
What-
I'm listening.
I'm going.
I'm listening.
okay,
I'm having fun.
so I think
Good.
a lot of people think, all right, so you're into astrology. Wow, you've abandoned logic and reasoning, right? Is that accurate?
No.
That's what they're
Like
thinking
Dave
right
is like,
now.
maybe. I don't want to say.
Maybe.
Well,
or at least in
so-
this one area. I mean, it's something that maybe. I don't know.
Because-
I'm listening.
The reality is, so astrology hardcore falls into a concept called the Barnum Effect, where essentially it's information that's so vague that you're like, oh, yeah, that's me. And it's because most people can relate to it. And that's why most people like horoscopes. The other thing that really matters is confirmation bias. So you're going to be on board with the things that you think are in agreement with your beliefs. So what questions do you guys...
I want to know tell me my future.
That's not what it.
Okay, tell me
So
give me my house rising sun plan.
How about I'll read a little bit about
Okay,
what I
that'd be
found
good.
in your
Yes.
chart.
I do want to hear this.
That may be
I
helpful.
am fascinated
Yeah.
with this.
Yeah,
part.
I'm
This-
curious.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Let me pull up my notes. All right. So, Frank, your sun sign is a Capricorn. As you may know, you said you were the goat. Not the greatest of all time.
I am the greatest of all time. The roof
Nope, you're just a bat
is the
goat.
ceiling.
You're just a goat. So, Capricorn sign is ruled by the planet Saturn, which gives people born under the sign peace, patience, perseverance, and ambition. Calm down. Calm down. These people are able to put maximum effort into work they've chosen to do or what they were told to do. Typically, they're pretty strong-willed. They'll usually achieve what they want. In business dealings, they will adhere to well-defined contracts, and they will adhere to good practices during research work for preparatory studies or in the field of art. These people typically choose more challenging tasks and careers because they like research. You went into the field of psychology, which I think is kind of interesting.
very
there.
easy, but keep going.
Not that easy.
I'm kidding.
Pretty
Yes,
dense.
It's a joke.
And not many people are suitable for research activity compared to Capricorns. You guys really like research. You guys dig it.
I was a research psychologist.
There you go.
There it is.
Your rising sign is a Gemini. And basically, your rising sign symbolizes what Emma Kate said. It's kind of like the mask that you wear. So certain personality traits that you may give off to the world. It can sometimes govern some different characteristics of your physical appearance, though we won't get into that because I think you guys are just you're going to be like, nope, no way. It can also kind of explain certain temperaments that you may be more
Like what?
accustomed to.
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
Because I think
This
you
is
guys
very
will
vague.
like this. Well, again, that's the point. That's the Barnum Effect. Because I think what people forget is that astrology right now is being used by our current generation, so Mariel and myself, because a lot of religions and spirituality, it doesn't incorporate everybody. It's closed off. And so what I think is really cool is that it forces us to connect to something bigger, which could be the universe, it could be God, it could be Brad, it's whoever you believe in.
Brad.
And
Who's Brad?
Right, who is Brad? I don't
Okay.
know if that's
All right.
important to you. It
Cool.
is. So, but my point is it actually helps people that are struggling with anxiety try to find a sense of certainty in chaos. Because younger generations right now have been told, okay, this is what your life is going to look like. And that's not really how it's panned out. And so there's potential for astrology to be used as a crutch to avoid taking personal responsibility because you say, oh, this is the planets. But the reality is it is actually a beautiful thing because it forces people to pause and look inward and say, okay, what's about to come up in the sky, so to speak, and how is that going to impact me? How can I choose to respond to this energy, right? But regardless, you are essentially making a choice to make a change for the better. It's causing inward, introspection, and you're focusing on what you need to change and what you need to let go of and what you need to keep.
But
Yeah,
you're
and
saying
one-
it's not based on anything real, though.
Well, it is, though. It's just not like a hard science. Like there's a difference between astronomy and astrology.
Right.
Because what's interesting, and when I started learning about this, did you know that Easter and other major religions are based off of the lunar cycles when they schedule them?
Okay.
They are.
Okay.
And we didn't have anything 5,000 years ago other than the sky to try to explain events. So, obviously there are things that are going to be a mess, but it's like, why does this really matter if it's something that's being used as a tool to help people make a positive change?
Of course.
What's Dave's?
Wait. Before Dave, you skipped over. I feel like Mariel filtered all the mask stuff for Frank, all the rising, whatever that is.
She totally did.
I didn't quite get to more of it. I'm really intrigued to share with you about like your moon sign.
Do it.
Okay. All right. I will.
So who are you talking about now? Frank?
Me.
Okay.
Frank.
Keep going.
So keep in mind your moon sign is it tells us what gives the person a sense of security, where to find it, describes how sensitive we are, how we interact.
So what is it?
Instinctively with our surroundings. Listen to this.
Give your mom the moon sign. Come on.
Speaking of mother, the moon also tells us about our childhood and our experiences with our mother.
All right, blah, blah, blah.
This is your moon sign.
Do it. Let's go.
Okay, so your moon is in Libra, and so you are looking for safety in a relationship, and you have the need to make somebody happy, and you want to have a rich social life, but you need to find these things within yourself in order to prevail with that. You are. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
But who doesn't want that?
Right, but a lot of people don't have access to mental health resources.
I'm in therapy. And I'm working on all those issues.
Right, but if you don't know what you don't know...
But I did know that, because my psychologist told me.
But it's not necessarily about you in this moment. That information is. But this is the point, right? You No, I know, but... And this is probably the most scattered podcast we've ever done.
It's because we have two people with ADHD on the panel.
On this episode.
It's fine.
All right.
Reel it in, Dave.
Well, all right. Keep going. Tell me mine.
Okay. Well, I feel like I want to share more about Frank, but
go with Frank. Finish up with Frank.
It's so good.
Finish up with Frank.
Okay.
I want to hear more with Frank.
Go with it.
You have a strong need for balance and harmony. You do not like conflict. You desire to keep things nice, as opposed to stirring the pot.
Right.
And so that impacts a lot of your emotional dealings and home, family life, things like that.
Okay.
Another interesting tidbit I found in your chart was that your 10th house, which your 10th house rules your career, your 10th house is in Pisces, and that's ruled by Neptune, in case you wanted to know. But so career of these people is typically related to services and a healthy living. So these people often become doctors, surgeons, or accountants.
Okay.
And you're a doctor.
I can get behind that.
And another fun fact about his chart, too, is most of his planets are in the Western Hemisphere, and that means
that's where I live.
That's the impact of the world on this person. They're molded by circumstances, and they're easily influenced by their surroundings and by people in their lives, and each experience becomes part of their personality.
Dave, would you like me to read your sign?
I want to hear it.
Go ahead,
Okay.
Mariel.
All right. So, Dave, your sun sign is Cancer. You, like you mentioned earlier, you are on the cusp of Cancer and Gemini. So, if you were to check, characteristics of somebody who has their sun sign in Gemini, you may resonate with some of those things, but you may not. So Cancer is ruled by the moon, and it gives people born under the sign great emotional sensitivity, which is nice since you are a psychologist. I would hope that you would have that. And typically your reasoning, thinking, and behavior are very dependent on your mood, similar to the changes in the lunar cycle. And so that's the reason that you like to depend on people who have really strong personalities, and you choose partners that you can lean on for your close core-knit group of peeps. People born under the sign of Cancer are often very artistic. Many know how to communicate their emotional feelings with either a brush, by word. You're a big writer, Dave, in case you don't know. Even though they are believed by others to be easily influenced by others, they actually are typically ones that influence their surroundings. And you have a charming emotional personality. So...
So right now, neither Frank or Dave are even looking at the cameras.
I'm just making notes.
I'm looking at Dave.
So good.
All right, keep
so
going
good.
with mine.
We knew this would happen. So your moon sign is Scorpio. So like we've mentioned before, moon signs tell us about sense of security, where to find it. So your moon in Scorpio creates the need to delve into your feelings as deep as possible, and that makes you a very vulnerable individual. You never forget anything that was done to you. And it's hard to force you to do anything. So you kind of have to set your mind to it as opposed to being told. You will not really relate to any emotional relationships that you have if they're not deep and true. You're not really into like surface level relationships. So even if it's not easy and you're forced to change many things about a relationship with an individual, you would rather that than have it be a surface level relationship. You're also really good at detecting emotional states of others. So really good on picking up on certain cues about how someone may be feeling. And
like now.
that can help you. Right. Yeah. I feel it like rolling off of you in waves. And you're all the way in Nashville. But so that gives you the ability to either hurt or help people. And I would sense that you are definitely more predisposed to helping people, especially considering.
It's very nice.
Especially considering, your choice of career, which is interesting because let me share this. I was looking at the 10th house in everybody's chart because that rules your career. And so, Dave, your 10th house is in Leo, and Leo is the ruler of the sun. We're currently in Leo season right now when this is being recorded. And so they have people with their Leo in the 10th house have strong career ambitions. And this is what I got from the internet about this. Leo is dominated by the sun, so this position makes the personality, leadership skills, and executive power of these people more profound. It is very important for them to be well respected. If they manage to stay open-minded and have a broad view on things, they will have a good chance of getting into power. Their abilities and success will bring admiration of others, and these people are happiest when they run their own business. If this isn't possible, they'll try to become the leaders and boss others around. And work of people with their 10th house in Leo often involves secrets, extreme conditions, or risk-taking. For example, stock exchange, surgery, psychology. So, thought that was pretty fascinating.
Huh.
What this has illuminated for me personally is that we are going to need to write an article because,
You are.
we'll write an article.
You are.
Hey, Dave.
There's a lot in there. I mean, obviously, these are general statements that are true of many, many people or most people. And then there's a lot of stuff in there that isn't true at all, right? Mm-hmm. So what do you do with that? Like, okay, so you have this, like, it's like you could be easily influenced or you could influence other people.
See,
it's that kind of... But also, what do you do with the things that are like you like to delve deep into, whatever. And it's not true.
It's like any sort of treatment approach. When we want to foster healing, it's about setting an intention. So for people who follow and pay attention to astrology, their intention typically is to understand their lives more, to understand themselves more, to understand how they relate to other people more, and why and where they kind of fly off the handle. And again, I think it's hard for people to wrap around because it's wildly complex. And that was one thing I didn't know about. But it's meant to be used for good. And essentially, and it sounds terrible, but from my perspective, it's you pay attention to what resonates and what speaks to you, and you use that for good and trying to change and evolve and grow as a person. Okay,
so, and I'm not making fun of this comment. I'm really, but I think what you're saying, though, ultimately is there's more psychology to this than anything, right? Like
yes.
But I don't think you're saying it's true.
So that's not quite accurate. So I'm saying there are parts of it that are true, but I'm not saying everything is necessarily true because a lot of astrology incorporates free will. We all have choice. We all have the ability to decide what we want to do and what we don't want to do. And even then, if we decide to make a better choice, that's a helpful choice for others and not just ourselves, it's going to have a different outcome.
And Dave, go ahead.
No, I'm just, I'm not trying to split hairs here. I'm just trying to say, but is the basis for it true? Like, in other words, let's say I just decided I was going to start my own little religion or my own little, and I just made up things about people that were like, oh, Emma Kate, she's an emotionally sensitive person who likes to have deep conversation, and like, let's say 80% of that's true because it's going to be true for 80% of people, but it's like a made up stuff. Is so that what we're talking? And then that brings you some sense of like what you're saying is that there's this Barnum Effect and that there's a confirmation bias and we select out of this what we want to hear and it helps us. And I get that part, but it's just like, but there's not a basis that makes it true. So
the basis is essentially energy. And I know that it's all the vibrations, and this is very hippie. It's right. True. It's very hippie, but it's where your attention goes, your energy flows. And if you are focused on the bad, then you're going to get bad in your life. If you are focused on the good, then you're going to have good in your life.
I buy that.
It's based off 5,000 plus years of people looking at the stars, trying to come up with potential relationships related to. But I mean, this is what it is. It's about people trying to come up with potential relationships to patterns of activity in the sky and trying to explain things that in the past they couldn't explain. Yeah. And now, no, it's not 100% accurate for everybody. Even then, it is about spirituality.
Well,
there's this thing to it. It's what you believe.
Is it spirituality or is this psychology? We started the Psychology of Astrology, and the more we're into it, I'm like, okay, I buy the psychology piece of it. But I'm not convinced that there's a thing that makes this true. It's just like, here are things that a person can say, okay, I take that good part and this other part. Do you think there's more to it than that?
I think it's similar to a lot of other spiritual practices that somebody may believe in. It's all about what you choose to believe in. I mean, it's a lot of blind faith, and whether or not you want to put that into astrology, into that astrology bucket, or you want to put it into, Christianity or Judaism or Hinduism. It's all about what you're choosing to believe.
Well, sort of, but also sort of not. And what I mean is, I'm not saying I know everything that's true or not true, but let's say that there's a God who created everything. Let's just say that for a purpose of either that is a objectively true thing or it's not a true thing. Whether I believe it or not doesn't make it a true thing. Right?
Well, why not? Because the power of intention with your mind and healing, there are things that you can do physically. When we think about a thought, it gets manifested physically in our bodies.
Belief is not a fact.
Well, right, but we can't
that's what
prove.
Dave's saying.
Well, we can't prove.
But what I'm saying is that doesn't make that thing true. Just because I believe it,
if I believe in dogmen, it doesn't mean dogmen exist.
Right,
and that's fine. But I think this is where we're getting back to the science.
I get or the not science part of it.
Right, that's my point. There is not science.
I can buy the psychology piece of it. I can.
I'm going to throw one bone to Emma Kate.
All right.
Is a year ago, I would have laughed her out of this room and humiliated her, maybe to the point of tears, or she would hit me.
Probably that.
Which still may
Hopefully
happen.
Not.
Yeah,
hopefully not. No violence.
But she did a card reading, tarot card.
No.
Tarot.
It's
Some kind of a card with faces and pictures on it.
So it's called tarot reading.
Okay, tarot reading. And it really, really did freak me out. It was a little unnerving. But I'll leave it at that.
Well, New Age is a hobby of mine.
And I'm not saying that we have a handle on every spiritual reality and we know everything about how everything works spiritually. I'm not claiming that. I'm just saying I think what I'm getting from this is more like, here's a system, whether or not there's any kind of science or validity to that part is almost incidental to the fact that here are things that it says that a person can decide, I'm going to focus my mental energy on that and my thoughts on that, and they can be helpful to me for that. Is that fair?
Yeah. Yeah. That's
okay.
Fair.
But not necessarily but here's this thing that is that there's a more objective, sciencey kind of thing behind that.
There's so many different meanings. This confirms Mariel and I will do an article series
All right.
on Shrink Tank for
Well,
this.
I want you to.
And
I'd
we
like
will
to.
provide
I
a
want
more
That would
in-depth
be-
analysis of both of you guys.
For sure.
it's-
And I'll be
you
sure
can-
to link
you
your
can-
natal charts in the description notes.
You can put it
of
all.
this
Please do
podcast.
it. No, honestly, you have my
I will.
permission. Put
I
it all
will.
out there.
I
Put
will.
it all
You can put
out
everything
there.
out there.
All
But
right.
just don't use the word natal. That's all.
Natal.
Natal. All right.
Natal.
All right. Well, there's still more, and if we need to talk about it more, we will.
Sounds good.
All right. That's cool. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of the Shrink Tank Podcast. If you like the episode, you can help our podcast grow by giving us a good rating on iTunes, and you can tell your friends to subscribe. If you didn't like it for any reason, you can give us feedback by emailing us, feedback@shrinktank.com. I think
Can't
there are going
wait
to
to
be people
receive your emails.
who don't like it because Frank and I are making faces, and other people won't like it because of the content, but we'll see. I'm
will
fine with
see.
all that.
Me too.
If you have interest in more content that explores the intersection of psychology and pop culture, you can visit shrinktank.com. We've got articles and videos and podcasts. We also have links to our doctor's orders, products, things that we recommend that you want to check out. Follow us on Twitter at @shrink_tank. Like us on Facebook. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, we'd love for you to subscribe. You can find us wherever podcasts are found, and you can check out the description box below. Our producer and theme music composer is Sean Beck. Our associate producer and social media guru and panelist is Mariel Butler. For Emma Kate Wright and Frank Gaskell and Mariel Butler in Charlotte, I'm Dave Verhagen in Nashville. Tell all your friends about us and make it a great week.